You've seen professional poker players that have made it big who are driving a nice car, living in a nice house, because they've had a huge score at some point in their life. We're all playing in a financial game, whether we like it or not. Not that money is our purpose or our focus. I believe it brings us no happiness. But what it does do is it can free us up to enjoy other things in life. And that's what I want to share with you so you can do the same. Now, what did it take to win that tournament? It took years of studying and discipline and time spent in front of solvers, time spent in their basement with the doors closed, developing the personality of a mailbox so that they could win this tournament, so that they could outlast everybody else and get this huge 7-figure score. Not only did they have to become that good, but then they had to build a bankroll, then fire a bunch of tournaments until eventually they outlasted a field of thousands of players to become that last one standing and win that 7 or 8-figure score that changed their life. That's pretty hard to do. But for you and I, there's a second option, and I want to talk about that today. Option number 2 is beating the players that are just in your local casino. You don't have to be the best player in the world for this to work. All you need to be able to do is win consistently. If you're not currently a winning player, trust me, it's easier than you think to get to a win rate. But stick around in the video. I have some resources coming up for you. First, let me explain the full picture of what I'm talking about. We'll get to that afterwards. Once you do develop a win rate and you're actually able to put money aside, here's the key. This is where everything happens. It's what you do with those winnings. Most players are going to spend their money, burn it on things that are enjoyable and fun. I used to put half of my money back into my bankroll, and I would take the other half and I would spend it on whatever, hobbies, all kinds of stuff. Look, I mean, right here, I've got sports cards, autographed sports cards sitting in my office. The point is this, I didn't have to spend the extra money that I had, but you get this feeling like,
oh, this is free money. I can just do whatever I want.
Here's the key takeaway. Instead of doing what everybody else is doing and spending your extra money, we're going to invest that extra money. Take money from other people at the poker table and invest it to build yourself a financial vehicle that will change your outlook. Let's look at an example because I think this will be really impactful to you. And then we'll talk more about the specifics of how this is done. For the example here, I put 2 player types together. One is Vacation Victor. That's the old way I used to play. I used to take half of whatever I would win, and I would put it back into my bankroll, spend the other half. I live in Spokane, so we'll say Vacation Victor wants to go see a Seahawks game. Costs him about $500 each time he wants to drive there and back and buy a ticket and stuff. We're going to assume that both players start with $10,000 in their bankroll, and they're both going to be earning $1,000 per year. Russell Hustle is going to be buying 3 shares of a company called PSA. It's not exactly $1,000, but it's close. And each share is going to pay him $12 in dividends. So when Russell Hustle starts the year, or finishes the year, he's going to have $11,000 plus the $36 in dividends. So the $10,000 he started with, the invested $1,000 earned, and the $36 from dividends. Vacation Victor, meanwhile, will have $10,500, a very similar amount, but he'll have had a chance to go see a Seahawks game. So he'll be ahead in this scenario. As far as experience is, Russell Hustle's slightly ahead on resources. Let's go to year 2. It doesn't change a whole lot. $11,036. He buys 3 more shares. Now he's getting $72 a year in dividends. He finishes the year with just over $12,000. Vacation Victor finishes the year with $11,000. Now I'm not going to spend much time on Vacation Victor. Pretty straightforward. It's going up $500 a year. He's getting a Seahawks game every year. But I want to show you what happens as we start moving down this board. So $12,000, another 3 shares. Now it's $108 per year. We finished the year with $13,216. This year it's 3 more shares, $144, $14,000. And again, we're pretty close. $12,000, we're only slightly ahead. But Victor's been to 4 Seahawks games. And Russell Hustle has been to 0 at this point. Here's where the magic happens, though, is in year 5. And then it really takes off from here. So we start the year with $14,360. Now we have enough money from dividends that we don't add 3 shares, we add 4 shares. So we've added, without doing anything, no time, energy, or effort was put forth by Russell Hustle to make that $360. Those shares are just sitting there and they're returning a dividend to him that he now gets to reinvest. So now he gets 4 shares this year. So it took 1, 2, 3, 4 years, and now he got an extra share. Now he gets $192 per year, and he finishes the year with $15,552. The next year, year 6, he adds 3 shares again, $228. But look what happens in year 7. The snowball effect is now starting to take over. It took us 4 years to initially buy an extra share. Now it takes just 2 more years, and we're buying 4 shares again because our Now what we're building up is this gigantic cash flow machine off of the dividends. Yes, $276, not a huge amount yet, but we're in the early stages of building this compounding machine. And so what you have is $276 per year, $17,056. And on the other side, we have $13,500, but a bunch of fun experiences. Obviously, those fun experiences have value. There's a reason we're willing to pay for them. But what I want you to see is that this starts to really explode. And it takes off and eventually gets to the point where you're adding 4 and 5 and 6 shares per year. And all of a sudden, this trip to Seattle is free. It's paid for by your cash flow machine. It's going to be paid for and then some, because it's just going to keep building and keep paying you. So Russell Hustle's side is a compounding effect in which we have this initial point where we went from buying 3 shares a year to suddenly buying 4. We're getting off the linear projection, which on the other side is just a flat rate of earning, adding $500 per year. The reason I'm suggesting this to you is eventually this really takes off and becomes a very large number. But Russell Hustle, if he takes a year off of poker, is still going to be getting something. He doesn't have to sit at the table and grind. Vacation Victor, if he says, I want to go to Seattle again, he's got to go to the table, trade his time and his energy to get that extra $500 to take his trip. He can't just sit back and let things come to him. Whereas Russell Hustle, he's already got this big machine that's working for him, and he just sits back. No time, no energy required. He can still do it, but he doesn't have to. It's going to continue to grow whether he does anything or not. It's a game we're playing. You're playing whether you know it or not. So you might as well get involved. You might as well play the game the best that you can and set yourself up to be on the side where you are able to receive resources that buy your time and energy rather than trading your time and energy to get the resources you want to do the things you want. After that example, if you're saying, hey, wait a second, that looks pretty good. Step number 1 is to go open an account. I'm not going to tell you who to work with because I have no connection or anything, any advice to give, but choose your favorite one. Mine's with Charles Schwab. Open up an account and get yourself ready to invest. The next step will be to fund that account and then to start buying stocks. I'm going to ask you for a favor at this point in the video. I'm going to ask that you would click that like button. The reason is when you click that like button, this gets out to more people. And I really, truly care about not growing my channel, but trying to get this information to more people so that more people can better themselves. Now, when it comes time to buy stocks, I gave you the example of PSA. It's a company that I hold, but I'm not going to tell you what to buy. I'm not a financial advisor. What I will tell you is that if you're interested in buying stocks, the strategy that I use is what Warren Buffett does. You can follow his method without being the smartest guy in the world, because what he really does well is he uses patience. Now, I'm wearing the shirt from the shop, the Patient and Dangerous shirt. It's true of the poker table, but it's also true of the stock market. And all he's done is he's chosen good companies that he really likes. He buys them and he holds on to them and he allows them to return that dividend. And he builds that snowball, just like we saw on the chart. So if you want more information on the companies that I am currently holding and buying, because you want to maybe use them as a starting point for research, I share all that information in the Patreon. It's $5 per month. Also, when you sign up for the Patreon, you get 10% whenever I win. So when I win, I share 10% with the Patreon community. I draw winners and send money their way. That's available to you. But whether you use that or not, I would advise looking into Warren Buffett and his investing style. Let me share 2 Warren Buffett quotes with you because they're both really impactful. And when you hear them, I think they will help you set the right mindset or frame of mind to invest well. Buffett says we don't have to be smarter than the rest. We have to be more disciplined than the rest. I like this quote because I don't think I'm a smarter guy than most people, but what I do have is the ability to learn discipline over and over and over again and work on becoming better and better. And then his second quote is this: the stock market is a device for transferring money from the impatient to the patient. Buy a good company when it's at a good price and then hold and just allow it to return money to you as long as it remains a good, strong company. Then you're going to put yourself way ahead. Now, in the example that I gave you, I didn't talk through the difference in appreciation of that stock. So what I did talk about is the dividend snowball that builds. But what we didn't discuss is what it looks like when you actually start getting appreciation. So most of these companies, as they grow their revenues and their cash flows over time, are going to appreciate in price. On top of all the dividends you're going to receive, there's actually the growth of the stock too, because it's appreciating in value and there's more people pursuing owning that company. The example I gave you was just a set dividend amount, but know that most companies, as they grow their cash flows and revenues, tend to also grow their dividends, so that you're gaining in both of those areas on top of all the dividends you're receiving. Let me give you some poker resources really quick. For those of you who are trying to beat low stakes poker and you just want to beat your local game, this book is really good. It's Jonathan Little's Mastering Small Stakes No Limit Hold'em. And he's got a bunch of different strategies, a bunch of advice in there, and several different ways that you can approach beating your local game with some good tips that you can build from and adjust from. So if you need a starting point, check out that book. If you have any thoughts, comments, questions, anything, please leave them down below. I really do want to help you. If this stuff interests you, I hope you'll sub the channel. I hope you'll follow this journey, and I hope that you'll come along and tell me how it's going for you. I hope someday to be getting comments that say, hey, I just cracked 5 figures. Hey, I just made it to 6 figures. I just made $1 million in the stock market. Thanks to your advice, I wouldn't have done it otherwise. I'm going to leave you with this video. Check it out. It's me at the casino actually carrying out this plan. It's possible you can do it. Give it a watch. Enjoy. Thanks for being here.
Queen looking Tyson. Do that ass survive, doing 80 to the house. Then I hit it to the sky, change haters on a tire.